Are you considering an IB World School for your child? Are you confused what an IB education is all about? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then you cannot miss this video.
IB में एग्जाम्स नहीं होते हैं. IB schools are too expensive for the middle class. IB education is only for those who want to graduate out of India. IB curriculum is too tough. CBSE is better for Indian kids. IB is just fun and no exam. IB students can't appear for competitive exams after 12.
Now, the statements you just heard are not my claims, but like me, I'm sure you've heard them before too, especially if you're a parent trying to figure out which education system to opt for your child. I was in that exact position a few years ago, and that's why in this video I will be sharing my own experience, but alongside that I will also be clarifying all the myths and assumptions surrounding IB schools and answer all the doubts and frequently asked questions that parents in India have about IB education. Hi everyone, my name is Jharna and welcome back to my channel Jharnalist, which is all about making lives easier, healthier and happier for families. Those of you who have been following my journey either on Instagram or here on YouTube would know that I'm a mom to 9-year-old twin boys. My boys study in grade 4, that is PYP 4, in an IB school here in Bangalore, and this is their 5th year there. Over the past few years, I've had the opportunity to understand more about IB education, what it entails, and how it differs from other forms of education and boards here in India. This introductory video is the first in a 4-part series that will give you an in-depth understanding of IB education and if it is the right fit for your children. So do hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay tuned for my upcoming videos. So the IB stands for the International Baccalaureate, and the IB is not actually a board. What it is a Geneva-based organization that runs educational programs, and these programs are not merely academic. The mission of the International Baccalaureate is to develop inquiring, knowledgeable and caring young people who can then help create a better and more peaceful world with intercultural understanding and respect. The aim of the IB is also to focus on personality development of everyone involved through active lifelong learning and community leadership. And by everyone involved, here they don't just mean the students. It also refers to the teachers, the support staff and the parent community. It's structured as a continuous lifelong learning process for everyone involved. Students studying in IB schools are encouraged to be change agents for themselves. What this basically means is that the IB has incorporated inquiry-based teaching and learning into all their programs and subjects. This is one major distinction between the IB and more traditional boards of education. In more traditional boards, students are basically taught a particular syllabus and they're expected to learn it as is. Whereas in the IB, students are encouraged to question, to research, and to take action. And in return, teachers also learn from students in the process, and the channel of communication between students and teachers is always open. This ties into one important point to note about the IB, and that is because it is not a board, there is no fixed syllabus. The IB provides a framework, not a prescribed syllabus, and each IB World School is expected to form their own curriculum based on that framework. And that framework calls for a syllabus which is dynamic, which is interconnected, which is constantly evolving, and which encourages students to think independently. Now, this in a sense means a curriculum that is broad, that is balanced, that is conceptual, and that is connected. And one facet of a connected curriculum is a curriculum that is transdisciplinary, that is multidisciplinary, where different subjects are mixed together. And I'll give some examples of how they do this as we go ahead. Like I mentioned, the IB offers educational programs, and there are 4 educational programs. First comes the PYP, or the Primary Years Program. The PYP covers children from their early years, that is pre-primary, all the way up till grade 5. And the PYP follows a student-centered approach. One major part of the PYP is UOI, or Unit of Inquiry. UOI involves the study and exploration of 6 transdisciplinary themes. Now, these themes stay constant each year in the PYP, but the topics within them keep changing. I'll go into more detail about the UOI and PYP and share some illustrations and examples as well in my next video, which will focus solely on the PYP. So do stay tuned for that. Then comes the MYP, or the Middle Years Program, which is designed for students from grades 6 to 10. In the MYP, students gain a solid academic foundation in 8 different subject groups, including one interdisciplinary unit. I'll tell you more about the details of the Middle Years Program in an upcoming video that focuses solely on it. And the MYP is followed by the IBDP, or the IB Diploma Program. This is for grades 11 and 12, and it is the most popular program in India. The IBDP is an academically rigorous program, and it involves choosing 6 different subjects from 6 different groups or categories, along with 3 other core components: the extended essay, theory of knowledge or TOK, and CAS, which stands for Creativity, Activity and Service. I'll go into further detail on all of these in my upcoming video on the IBDP. Now, only schools that offer all 3 programs, that is the PYP, the MYP and the DP, are known as IB Continuum schools, which basically means schools that offer continuing education under the IB system. The IB also offers a 4th program, which is called the CP, or the Career Program, and this is also designed for students of grades 11 and 12. But this is not very commonly available or offered in India, and that's why I won't go into great detail about the CP. But to give you all a basic idea, unlike the IBDP, which is an academically rigorous program, the CP, or Career Program, combines academic studies along with career-related learning. And this makes it a great option for those students who already have a clear career path in mind. Now, in the CP, courses are designed to help students develop attitudes, skills, and strategies that are required for both personal and professional situations. Now, one very important point to note is that in order to teach the IB programs, schools need to be authorized by the IB organization. There may be several international schools that claim to be IB schools or claim to teach the IB, but it is possible that they are not authorized. And at the same time, a school may be authorized to teach one program and not another. All the programs of the IB, that is the PYP, the MYP, the IBDP, and the CP, all require separate authorization. Now, the actual process to be authorized for each program is a long step-by-step journey for each school. It involves a consideration phase, then there's a request for candidacy, followed by the actual candidacy phase, which is why you will hear of several schools calling themselves IB candidate schools. After this is when representatives of the IB make a verification visit to the school, and only after all of this do they take a decision on the authorization. And another thing, IB authorization is not a one-time ticket. Each IB World School is evaluated by the IB organization every 4 to 5 years to make sure that they continue to meet all standards and practices, and only then can they retain their authorization for that particular program. Parameters like their curriculum, academic and non-academic, teachers' training, their inculcation of IB learner profiles, their infrastructure, parents' interaction, and many other factors are looked at. The school also conducts a self-study during this evaluation. When my children's school was being re-evaluated for PYP back in 2020, just before the pandemic began, I was invited to be part of this re-evaluation process as a representative of the parent community, and I got to learn a lot about IB education in the process. We were asked to share our experience with the school, and in return we also got to learn from the IB evaluators what their expectations were from the school. So like I just mentioned, there are some schools that may misrepresent the status of their authorization. I've seen that happen in places here in Bangalore and in Mumbai as well, where schools that have been authorized for one program may give parents the impression that they are for all 3. That's why I'd urge you as a parent to do your due diligence and check the status of the schools that you're applying to. The list of all IB schools with their respective programs is mentioned on the IB website, which I will link to below in the description box. But alongside that, I'll also show you just exactly how to check. So once you're on the official IB website, which is ibo.org, you click on the search icon and then go to Find an IB World School. This will take you to this page where you can either zoom in on India and then on the city or town that you're looking for a school in, or a better idea is to scroll down and head to this area where you select the region, which is Asia Pacific, the country, which is India, and then in the keyword section, list the name of the city or the town that you're looking for a school in. So I've put in Bangalore over here, and it shows me all the IB World Schools in Bangalore with tick marks against the column for which they do have authorization. So you can see that there are so many schools that have authorization for the DP program, but very few for middle years and for the PYP. Over here, these schools which have 3 tick marks are IB Continuum schools, which have authorization for all 3 programs. Now coming to the most common doubts or myths or assumptions related to the IB. Do bear in mind that I'll be speaking not only from my own experience, but also from the research that I've done. And that has involved speaking to IB students, parents, teachers, and school managements across the country. Starting off with the first assumption, and that is that IB schools are expensive. Now, this is a statement that I would say is not false, but at the same time, it's not a universal truth. Let me explain how. So IB schools are by no means cheap, and that is because the way IB programs are structured, they do require a certain infrastructure to be in place, and they do require the school to have a certain environment, and that obviously costs money. And alongside that, teachers of an IB school are also required to be constantly trained, regularly trained through IB workshops. And a lot of the school's funds go into teachers training and as well as into materials, because like I mentioned, there is no fixed syllabus, and that's why there is no one course book. So material has to be gathered from a lot of different sources. And in addition to all of this, each IB World School also pays the IB an annual fee. But at the same time, there are IB schools that are what is now considered to be mid-range in terms of their fees. This is more common in 2-tier cities in India like Chandigarh or Surat or Indore, but it's also in places like Bangalore and Hyderabad, there are a couple of options available. And in addition to this, governments of Delhi and Andhra Pradesh have signed agreements with the IB to offer IB education in government schools, which I think will be funded by the government. And if they're able to execute this, it's a great move. Since I'm based out of Bangalore, I do know as a fact that there are other international schools like IGCSE schools or even national board schools like CBSE schools or ICSE schools that are more expensive than some of the IB schools. But at the same time, Bangalore also does have extremely expensive IB schools that charge up to 10 to 15 lakh rupees per student per annum. So basically, there is a wide variety and variation in terms of fee range when it comes to IB schools, and it depends upon the location, the facilities, and several other factors. IB is just a whole lot of fun, and there are no exams and no pressure. Well, this statement is not true, but there are some caveats. If you speak to most students studying in IB schools, they will tell you that they do have a lot of fun. But this is in no way laid back, relaxed fun. IB programs do involve a lot of hard work and academic rigor. But this hard work is very different from the hard work that you would see in a more traditional board of school. Let's take the example of CBSE, which is a traditional board and is academically bent. Now, students studying in CBSE schools are required to learn the course material and recall it in their examinations. Whereas a student studying in an IB school is required to continuously learn through discussions, research, reading, experimentation, projects, presentations, and various other modes of learning. Their skills and their progress are also assessed through all of these, and also through other forms of testing like formative assessments, summative assessments, and examinations. Now, most of the assessments that take place in IB programs are done by the schools themselves. But when students go to the MYP, the DP, and the CP, there are a range of IB validated assessments, the final assessments for these programs. Now, the difference between these assessments from more traditional boards assessments are that in the IB assessments, they are required to demonstrate higher order thinking, not merely simple factual recall, which you would see in other board exams. So in a gist, IB schools use a variety of strategies and tools to assess student learning. But if you're looking for a very relaxed, laid back, chilled atmosphere with absolutely no pressure, then the IB may not be a good fit. Likewise, if a student has other specific priorities, like an example could be that they need to do focused training in a particular sport at a very high level, or they need to study for a particular competitive exam, then juggling that workload alongside the workload of an IB program may be difficult for them. It may prove difficult for them. Then there's the assumption that IB education is only for those students who want to do their graduation outside India. Now, the basic answer to this assumption is that it is false. No, but it isn't that straightforward. So let's look at a couple of aspects related to it. One is the question that at present, are IBDP students going abroad for their graduation? And the answer is yes, most IBDP pass outs are doing that. IB is recognized by universities and employers worldwide. Moreover, the kind of learning that IB students are exposed to makes the transition to international universities easy for them. In addition to this, in some cases, credits from your IBDP do have the potential to be considered as college credits in certain cases. But we'll delve deeper into this when we go deeper into the IBDP. And another thing to note is that given the kind of exposure that IBDP students do have, they tend to be more aware of the different options of undergrad courses across the world. And also to add to this, up until now at least, the kind of families that most IBDP pass outs come from, they generally tend to have a greater financial capacity to send them abroad because they come from more financially affluent families, up until now at least. Coming to the question, can IBDP pass outs do their graduation in Indian colleges and universities if they want to? So the answer to this question is also yes. In fact, there is a sizable percentage of IBDP pass outs that do stay back to do their graduation in Indian colleges and universities.
So one of the myths that's there for IB education is that all kids go abroad. That's first thing, that it's not the case. While of course, depending on the profile of the school and the parents, that number can vary between anywhere between 40% of the kids to 80% of the kids going abroad. So that's first thing to know. So in India, kids are all over are in top universities in India, but the same thing applies for even the top colleges across the world. In fact, I mean, IB has done a study which says that that IB students are 21% more likely to get through a top college in the US or Canada.
In India, the IBDP is now officially recognized by the Association of Indian Universities as an entry-level qualification for all universities. And that's why almost all universities in India do recognize and accept the IBDP. The IB website also has a booklet on it which is regularly updated, which gives an overview of the university recognition in India, and it also shares links of these universities alongside their policies. Now, in addition to this, the higher education landscape in India is changing at the moment, and there are newer institutions which are offering courses which may be better suited to IB graduates. Since admission to some Indian universities tends to take place before the results of the IBDP are out, almost all universities of this kind, offer provisional admission to IBDP students based on their predicted grades. And we'll go into greater detail regarding this in the video on the IBDP. So do let me know if you have any questions related to this. This brings us to a related assumption. Is the CBSE or the ICSE or other state boards better suited for students who want to continue studying in India for their graduation, or they may want to appear for Indian competitive exams like the JEE for engineering, the NEET for medicine, the QET or the common law admission test? So at the moment, students from national level boards do have an advantage when it comes to common entrance exams and tests for engineering, medicine, or any other specific stream, or the general colleges. And that is because a majority of these entrance tests and exams are based on textbooks of the NCERT. The NCERT is the National Council of Educational Research and Training. And these NCERT textbooks are also the standard textbooks for CBSE. And most of these entrance exams are based on knowledge of the information in these textbooks rather than any skill set. There's also a factor related to subject selection in the IBDP and subject requirements that are mandatory for higher studies in, say, a field like medicine, where all three sciences are required. So I'll go over that in my IBDP video as well. So why exactly should a parent opt for an IB education for their children? Well, let's go over some of the features and benefits of IB. And these are also some of the reasons that I personally have opted for an IB education at this moment in time for my children. First off is the very basic fact that IB is a progressive form of education. It does not encourage rote learning. It does not encourage a mere accumulation of knowledge and recalling that knowledge in an examination. Instead, it emphasizes a conceptual understanding of topics and a development of skills. And the focus of the IB pedagogy is on how to learn rather than on what to learn. With this focus, the IB has 5 approaches to learning or ATL skills, which can be seen across all the IB programs. And these ATL skills are thinking skills, research skills, communication skills, social skills, and self-management skills. Moreover, the IB way of education is designed looking forward. It's designed for tomorrow. IB is the ideal way to prepare young learners for an uncertain future. With constant technological advancements, the world around us is constantly changing. Professional landscapes are changing on a daily basis. And that's why merely acquiring knowledge is no longer enough. It just doesn't cut it. What matters is what you're going to do with what you know. And IB learners are empowered and equipped with critical thinking skills which help them meet these challenges and adapt to a fast changing environment. The aim of the IB is to foster international mindedness and interconnectedness. And all of the IB programs are designed towards this goal. And some examples of how they achieve this is by encouraging learning of multiple languages, by providing opportunities to examine both local issues and global issues, through engaging with different cultures and beliefs, and through community service. Now, IB education also focuses on the attributes of the learner. Over here, I've listed all the 10 IB learner profiles. Now, through the course of a student's education, IB educators help students develop and then demonstrate these attributes. This shows that IB education is holistic in nature. And it also shows that IB education is concerned not only with the cognitive development of the students, but also with their social, emotional, and physical well-being. For IB education to be a good fit for our children, it also requires a mindset shift in us parents. Now, for most of us who are parents now, we have gone through a very traditional style of education ourselves, which was based on textbook learning, copying down notes, mugging up those notes, and then, writing out all that we had memorized in examinations. And from what I've described to you by now, you would have understood that IB education is very different.
All of this generation of parents, all of us have still grown up in very conventional schooling systems where the focus has been on memorizing content in the textbook and giving exams. And the better you do it, the more rigorous the examination system is supposed to be. That, I think, is what changes very dramatically in the IB. The focus is on being able to express your thoughts in your own language, if it is a language paper, or if it is maths or science or even humanities, being able to respond with real life situations where you can apply the content that you have learned. So I think the mindset shift that is required for parents is very significant because they have not seen the system. The new generation of parents that will come up, they will have grown up with the system and they will know this much better.
For our children to be able to thrive while receiving IB education, it's very important that we as parents understand this process and also resolve to unlearn some of those regimented processes and notions and ideas that we have with respect to education. I'll be back with detailed videos on the primary years program, the middle years program, and the diploma program So do let me know any other questions you have related to IB education in the comment section below, and I'll answer those. Until then, I'll see you in this video on how to pick the perfect school for your child.